6th grade. Today's video is going to be a supplement of the assignment that I had just sent out, and it's also going to be concluding our overview of reading music. I'm going to begin by giving a brief recap of what we had talked about in our video earlier this week. The staff, which consists of the 5 lines and the 4 spaces that the pitches of the notes are written on. Here is a list of the notes that we had covered in the last video. The quarter note, which is worth 1 beat, the half note, which is worth 2 beats, the dotted half note, worth 3 beats, the whole note, worth 4 beats, the 8th note, worth 1/2 of a beat. When you have a group of 8th notes that is more than 1 note at a time, you group them together by a beam, and it's just one solid line across those 8th notes. On the screen there is an example of 2 8th notes beamed together and 4 8th notes beamed together. So each one of the dots represents 1 8th note, but I'm just grouping them together. So here we have 2 separate 8th notes, and here we have 4 separate 8th notes. The 2 8th notes, because we have 2 halves, is worth 1 beat, and with the group of 4 8th notes, since they're each worth half, is worth 2 beats. Depending on how the music is written, you can also find 8th notes grouped into 3s as well. We have our rests, so the quarter rest being worth 1 beat, half rest worth 2 beats, and the whole rest worth 4 beats. You have your measure, which will consist of a group of notes. When you're reading music, there's multiple measures that keep going. This is just what one measure would look like. So the beginning of your measure is at the first bar line. The end of your measure is indicated by the next bar line. In the video from Monday, I didn't have the staff lines written out. We just had the 2 bar lines with some notes written inside. You would have notes written in here still, but now this is just what it would look like with adding the staff. Here's an example of 4 beats in this measure. So it would look like 1, 2, 3, 4. One thing I wanted to point out before moving on to our new material. In this example, I have drawn the stems going down rather than going up. And the reason I have done this, anytime you have a note that is on the 3rd line or higher, you draw the stems going down. Anything that is lower than the 3rd line, you have the stems going up. Your stem direction does not change the value of the note, so this is still equally representing a quarter note. The only purpose for the stem direction change is for formatting. So I've now written 2 examples of a note that is above the 3rd line, one with the stem going up and one with the stem going down. The stem going up over the staff, it looks a little bit awkward that way. It's not really in good form. But with the stem going down, it keeps all the beams nice and consistent inside of the staff. We're going to be moving on to some new note values that we did not cover in the last video that you will see on your upcoming assignment. I'm only going to add 1 more rest to our vocabulary. The 8th rest looks like this. It's got a little ball attached to it and a good old slash. So the 8th rest is worth the same value as an 8th note. It is worth 1/2 of a beat. The 16th note. So a 16th note, if we keep cutting our musical values in half, so we have the quarter note, which is worth 1 beat, the 8th note, which is worth a half of a beat. Now we have the 16th note. 1 16th note is worth a quarter of a beat, which means that 4 16th notes make up 1 beat. The difference here visually, comparing the 8th note to the 16th note, is that we add a flag. So the 8th note only had 1 flag, this was a single flag. Now we have 2, so we have a double flag to represent a 16th note. And just like what we did for the 8th notes when we were grouping them in more than one, you're going to do the same thing for a 16th note. So here I have 2 16th notes grouped together. So all I'm doing, the change that I'm making in drawing or writing a 16th note is now I'm adding 2 beams across rather than just 1. The 2 16th notes together make up half of a beat. And over here we have 4 16th notes grouped together. The 4 make up 1 beat because each one is worth a quarter of a beat. So we have our 1 beat. So again, here is how it would look together. Another new part of reading that we're going to cover is the double bar line. So it works the same way with the measure. So this is the beginning of a measure, and here's the end of a measure. As you can see, there are 2 lines. So here's your double bar line. The inner one is thinner, the outer one is thicker. And what this is telling you is that you are ending the song. So this would be the last measure that you would see. So you would have all the regular measures with the single bar lines, and then this here at the end, your double bar line, tells you that you are ending the song. Okay, we have 2 more terms to cover for this video. The first one is the time signature. So the time signature, you will always find this at the beginning of every song. Always at the very beginning, right before the start of the first measure. So you can see that it is made up of 2 numbers. So I've chosen the example of 4/4. Your top number tells you how many beats are going to be in each measure. So I have here a 4. So I know we are going to have 4 beats in each measure of the song. This means that every measure will have the same number of beats. It does not change unless it is specified or indicated. Your bottom number tells you what type of note is getting 1 beat. So for here we have a 4. The 4 on the bottom is indicating that the quarter note will receive 1 beat, because in a standard measure, which would be 4/4, your quarter note, you would take up 4 quarter notes to fill up that measure. So that's where that 4 is coming into play. The last term I'm going to cover in this video is the key signature. For the exercise that I've sent out, the only thing that you need to know about the key signature is where it's located. You'll always find your key signature at the beginning of every line. So it's not just at the beginning of the song. If I had another staff under here, going on to line 2, you would also find the key signature written there. The purpose of the key signature tells us how many sharps or flats there are in a song. A sharp, which is what I have here, will raise a note by a half step. The last thing I'm going to discuss in this video is how to do the exercise that I sent out for your upcoming assignment. Okay, so let's take a look at this example. So again, you don't have to I'm not asking you to actually read the music. You don't have to know how the song goes or anything like that. All I'm asking for is for you to identify different parts of, if I asked you to find a half note, you're going to scan the music and see if you can find a half note. So here we have one half note. So you're just going to circle one of the half notes, label it half note so I know that you know what you're identifying, and that's really it. For formality purposes, I have given this assignment a due date of April 10th. I know we're all feeling very overwhelmed with this new style of learning. I'm right there with you, so I understand if things get in the way of being able to do an assignment on time. So please, I'm stressing that these due dates are very lenient. I just want you to enjoy music, have fun. Please feel free to email me as well if you have any questions on this assignment for the week. Take care, have an excellent weekend, and I look forward to hearing from you guys. Bye!